Now I have been thrown into a dilemma, because apparently there's lots of things alarm calling at the Djuma Dam camera right now, and I don't think she would have got from here to all the way there that fast. But let's just stop and listen and see what we can hear. All very, very quiet. Now, I don't think that she would have made her way. Okay, copy that. Thanks, Craig. I'll try and follow up from the western side and keep you updated. Okay. Craig says that he cannot get his vehicle in on that side of the drainage line. I'm still going to go with what is essentially gut instinct and try and approach from this side. And I'm going to ask Brent to approach from the other side, and maybe we can catch her somewhere in the middle. It is a network of drainage lines, this block. Let's just see if my gut instinct is right about where she's gone. Where did I see Craig's tracks? Just go. Standing by. Copy that, thank you. Brent's made a different suggestion as to how we can approach this, and he's speaking from a bit more experience in this area than I have at the moment. He's been tracking Karula through this block, or has tracked Karula through this block several times over, and his suggestion, because he is on his way elsewhere, be to go to the shortcut just south of Buffelshoek cut line and check around there. He says that he's tracked her crossing in that direction several times over, but we need to move fast to get there, because there's nothing like a leopard for covering ground when she wants to. Now, when I first started working for Wild Earth, Karula was I think within my first or my second week here, Karula was mating with an unknown male up in Buffelshoek, who we think might have been seen by Brent a couple of weeks later. It's very, very skittish. He's not all that comfortable with being seen. And we're going to start to wonder if Karula's going to be hiding cubs away in the next month and a half or so. Now, Donna, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You were ever wondering if Karula has lost cubs that we know about, and I would say it's more than likely that she has, even if we haven't known about it. I haven't heard about it, but I would say in terms of the number of, she is a fantastic mother. She's produced several successful, viable litters from what I've heard, but even then there is an incredibly high mortality rate with cubs. I think I did hear about at least one of them that was killed by a hyena. Now let me just think for a moment about my approach here. I'm going to go along the fire break, which is a bit more rocky, a bit more bumpy, but keeps us closer to where she was last seen. Now, the wonderful thing about the Wild Earth viewers is that there is a wealth of background knowledge on these amazing animal characters. And Billy tells us that Karula loves to, or has in the past, shown a tendency to hide her cubs in the vicinity of lodges, and was in one case, and I believe that was actually in the DRC, which is where most of the Wild Earth staff is staying at the moment. She has been known to pull down laundry and roll in it. And Billy has also confirmed that Karula did lose her last set of cubs her last cub to a hyena, or two hyenas. So she has lost cubs in the past. It is one of those unfortunate realities for leopard mothers. Survival rate, or the mortality rate rather, of their cubs can be very, very high. It's a very tough life out here. It is unbelievably thick in here, and we are once again on our own in our search for Karula. My eyes very, very carefully peeled. And I think I've acquired a passenger, just a stick of some kind that's hooked to ride. See if we can get rid of that. There we go. It's just tucked under the wheelbase there. It's fine, we have removed it. It was an unwelcome addition to our Karula searching mission. Now, Karula has been, from the sounds of it, quite a phenomenal female leopard in terms of the success of raising her cubs. And we are constantly seeing the different offspring and then their offspring as well. So Shadow, for those of you who were speaking a little bit earlier about the young male leopard cub and his mother, Shadow. Shadow is Karula's daughter. There's also Djuma and Quarantine, who are regularly in this area. And I'm sure that there are others as well. And Eileen, welcome to the Sunset Safari. Eileen was wondering why it is that they tend to stay so close to where Karula is. And that's a combination of reasons. First of all, it's very, very common for female leopards for their daughters to hang about very close to them. And they will, although they will tend to become independent quicker than the male cubs, they will very often stick around their mother's territory. It is even common for her to shift her territorial boundaries ever so slightly to allow them to move in and establish their own home range and territorial boundaries. Generally though, they will try and stay out of each other's way. But with the male cubs, they will obviously, they don't want to stick around in an area where they could be mating with relatives of theirs, so they will disperse quite far once they reach the right age. But it takes them quite a lot longer than the females to become independent and even to become large enough to be capable of defending an area from other male leopards. So at the moment, Quarantine and Djuma, who are, I believe, in the region of 4 to 5 years old, they have been hanging around a great deal with them or around their mother, not necessarily with her, but around her territory. And I even saw, the one day I even tracked with Scott, where we'd had Karula the day before, and then we tracked Djuma all the way up to Buffelshoek Dam. But having had a look at their tracks, it looks as though he did at some point in the evening meet up with his mother and spend a little bit of time.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us.
welcome back, and we do apologize for that situation. We just had to switch to battery, and at some point during the next hour or so, we are going to have to switch over batteries, just because we've only got 54 minutes left. However, I have hope against hope at the moment. We're going to try and do this. We're going to try and get in here. I think the go-away bird has just given away Karula's position. So far it's just the one calling. But it's thick in here. I'm going to try and get us in. Stop calling again now. But this is almost exactly where Brent suggested her regular movements might bring her out. So let's see. I'm definitely hopeful. Maybe she's tucked away in here. It is unbelievably thick in this block. Where would she be? There's a termite mound just off to the left of me that I wouldn't mind being able to get to. The go-away bird has gone quiet again, unfortunately. So he's not giving us any more advice. Try not to put Brian in a buffalo thorn. Sorry Brian, I'm going to go backwards a little bit. Go nice and slowly around this termite mound. It is so thick here, and she can be so very sneaky. Going to stop here for one moment and listen again. The go-away bird has been fluttering around and giving alarm calls, and Mary was wondering if when we're walking in the bush, does that have some kind of impact on the alarm calling animals? So will the birds or the squirrels react to our presence? And the answer depends on the species involved. That grey go-away bird that was calling earlier will definitely react to the presence of people on foot, and more than once they have given away my position and come and sat above my head and shouted "go away" at me for several minutes at a time. Geese also have been known to do it to me when I've been walking along rivers, and then the odd little rattling testicular will also follow behind you an alarm call. So not always ideal. Very, very thick here. This would put us almost exactly where she would be coming out, but that go-away bird now has gone very, very quiet. And typically when they do respond to leopard, they go on about it for quite a while. So maybe it was shouting at something else. I will say that I've never been alarm called at by squirrels before, or not that I've been aware of. Oh, it's very quiet now. I think that grey go-away bird might have fooled me, or Karula has fooled it. She does seem to move through the bush with a remarkable absence of alarm calls, in my experience. You can see how absolutely beautiful the sky is. Almost looks as though we're getting another cloud layer in, which surprises me. Look how beautiful that sky is. Really is quite spectacular this evening. Now, let me loop around. sneaky thing. Where are you hiding? Knob thorn there, Brian. I don't want to leave you hanging in the tree and drive off. Actually, don't want to leave my shoulder in the tree either. And as we crash and bang our way out of this block, not too far from the road, going to have to make a decision very soon as to which direction I think Karula might have gone in, and see if maybe we get lucky on the road. This is roughly where Brent suggested double check. Now we've had a couple of very quiet drives recently, and Kathleen has pointed out that a lot of the animals seem to be very skittish after the rains, and was wondering if that would apply to leopards as well. And I think that generally the the skittish responses tend to be inspired by the wind rather than the rain itself. So we have had a couple of windy days, and the animals have been a little bit more on edge. But in terms of leopard sighting, it could well be connected to the general game sightings. So the animals are moving in the middle of the blocks because there's lots of groundwater available, and therefore the leopards are hunting in the middle of the blocks and possibly not even having to move too far. I do just need to get hold of Brent, as we do need a battery delivered to us at some point. Is a truly spectacular evening sky, as you can see from all of the colours. I'm going to try and find a nice clear spot to stop so we can have a look at this exquisite sunset before I make my way across to the hyena den. I definitely haven't given up on the fact that Karula may well still be somewhere in this block. Just double checking once again. It's always a bit of a guessing game as to where Karula is going to come out. Going to stop for one moment for two reasons. One is that the sky is looking absolutely spectacular, and two is that I just want to give it one last chance to listen for alarm calls. I just want to hop onto the Game Drive channel to Brent, just to let him know what's happening with our battery life. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, just to let you know, we are down to 43 minutes in terms of battery. I'm going to head across to the hyena den now. Just letting Brent know what's happening. Unfortunately, there's been a little bit of a situation where the spare batteries have headed off along with Wendy to be repaired. So at the moment it does look like, unfortunately, we're going to have to end the show probably about 15 minutes or so earlier than normal. But we are looking to see if maybe there's a backup plan. But it looks as though most likely we're going to be ending 15 minutes earlier than normal this afternoon. And since that is the case, although this is quite the spectacular sunset, I think it's time to head across to the hyena den before it gets too dark and see if we can spend a little bit of time with them. Now, the reason that I'm not driving frantically through the block looking for Karula is that it is just quite simply too thick. And my experience now with her has taught me that she has numerous drainage lines in that block that she likes to move along and disappear through. And I quite honestly would not have the first idea as to where to start. So although we've checked where Brent suggested she might cross, we still haven't heard anything except for one lone and quite possibly crazy go-away bird alarm calling, and even he has gone quiet. But we are very, very close to the hyena den. We're actually on the same road, so at least if we can spend some time watching the little hyenas if they are out and about, we can also try and listen for alarm calls at the same time and see if maybe they alert us to where she might be. Grab some water. And apparently missed my mouth completely. Oopsie. And this new active hyena den that Steph has found is also in Karula's favourite block on Djuma. It's obviously a good place to come if you want to hide away from the world. And Steve, once again, welcome to the Sunset Safari. Now Steve was wondering if I've managed to acquire any more feathers to further antagonize James, and whether or not I've got any to add to my hat. And the answer is not yet. I'm going to choose to be quite selective about the feathers I put into my hat. I have not forgotten the advice that I was given about heading across to the tree by the Djuma Dam camera and just having a look there to see if the lilac-breasted roller has dropped any feathers there. And then we shall see how the situation changes. Just making my way into the hyena den. Hello, little one. Long time no see. The little cub is out and about. I'm going to approach nice and carefully just to make sure I don't cause any distress. And while I do, you will see how incredibly thick it is around this den site. And Joyce, once summer comes and the rains do come, almost all of these trees are going to grow their leaves back to the point that this particular den site might even be slightly inaccessible. So you'll be astounded at the change of season. Most of these rather dead, brown-looking trees are in fact not dead at all, but have simply lost their leaves. Oh, you are smelly. Holy moly. Oh, this is possibly the worst smell I have experienced at this hyena den. Hello, you coming to say hi? That is almost a joyful gallop in our direction. Obviously, this little one has been looking for some entertainment and has decided that our wheels might be a good option. Oh, how you've grown. Look at you. Look at those spots you've got. What's there? What you looking at? Now, it's amazing how brave this little individual cub is for his or her age. She'll come right up almost to the point of touching the vehicle. At that point, it was probably about 1.5 meters away, if that. And its mother is the individual that you can see at the top of the screen, there with the scar on her lower back. Now, I know that James has remarked in the past about her pungent odor, and oh my word, is he right. I'm generally not too sensitive to smells, but this is quite the aroma wafting in our direction, isn't it? Oh, have a quick chew. Possibly fall down. Oh, and anal paste. So already imitating adult behavior that it will exhibit for the rest of its life. Oh, I'm so glad we decided to come this way. I haven't seen this little one in 3-4 weeks now. Yummy. We were talking earlier about elephants teething, and this little one is probably at the age where a couple of the permanent teeth might start to come through. But you can still see those little milk teeth. And I know that... Oh, cute. I know that many of you with puppies and kittens will know exactly how sharp little puppy or kitten teeth can be. And you can only imagine what this little one's teeth are like. I definitely wouldn't want to let him or her chew on my finger for too long. Munching away. And that's a combination of play and also quite possibly relieving some of the teething discomfort. You are so cute. And the wonderful news is that we have managed to acquire some spare batteries. So we will be completing the show to its normal time. But we do need to have them delivered, which means I just need to get hold of Brent on the Game Drive channel and let him know where we are. Stations Misikaya on Gallagher Shortcut is active. Brent for Jamie. Yeah, just let me know when you're on Gallagher Shortcut. I'll come out from the den. Thank you. So Brent is going to be our delivery man and bring them through for us. You can just see the curiosity, and in my opinion you can actually see the intelligence there as well. When you watch their facial expressions, you can see all of the learning and the curiosity and the mischief in those big eyes. Oopsie daisy. Oh dear. Well done. Having a bit of an exploration. I'm just trying to see what it's having a sniff around. Can't see anything in particular. I think just exploring, and I'm going to try and keep an eye on it from my angle. They are renowned for stealing the little rubber caps off the Land Rover wheels, the little oil protections and the dust protectors. And I've taken my eyes off them for the briefest moment and lost them in the past. Looked up to see a hyena cub disappearing off into the distance with a rubber cap in its mouth. They do seem to enjoy them a great deal. Now where we are at the moment, we are almost directly opposite where Craig last had visual of Karula. He had her on the other side of the drainage line, moving through the drainage line, almost directly in this direction, maybe a little bit further to the north. Oh, roll over. That was exhausting. Now, it's very typical for all animals that are predators and in competition with each other to, when they do interact, especially to try and kill each other's cubs, as well as to cause conflicts between the adults. Sorry guys, just hold on 1 minute. I'm going to finish that thought in a moment. Yeah, standing by. Okay, copy that, thank you. This little Mapimpan's been quite entertaining. I will move out when we're done here. Copy that, perfect, thank you. I don't really want to leave this cub just yet, especially not in this beautiful light. So I've asked Brent to leave the battery in a tree for us, and we'll go and collect it. Of course, it is a matter of making sure I know which tree it's in, and maybe not letting it get too dark before we go looking. Anyway, so I was talking about the fact that Karula is probably moving through this area as we speak, and there's a lot of interaction between... Oh, cute, man. Jeez, that's cute. Interaction between the predators. And Ramon from the Netherlands was wondering why it is we never see leopards or hyenas at a den site, because not leopards and hyenas, leopards and lions at den sites, because surely this would be a brilliant place to hunt and kill hyenas. And the answer to that is mainly because the hyena cubs have very cleverly excavated tiny little tunnels in the termite mound that only they will be able to fit into. So an adult leopard or an adult lion would not be able to go in. And what's more, these cubs are not completely defenseless. They do have very sharp teeth, and any investigating leopard that did manage to squeeze its way in would probably be met with quite a savage bite and would have much less maneuverability in those tunnels than a little cub like this one. So I think over the years, leopards and lions have learned that a hyena den, although it seems that way, to sit in ambush, is probably not the best place to come and hunt hyenas. Oh. Come to say hello to Mom. You even see the little tail wagging, not quite wagging in the way we understand cats and dogs to wag, but definitely indicating enjoyment. Standing by. Copy that, thank you. So, Brent has kindly put the batteries in the tree for me, and his description of the placement was one that you might have to stand on tiptoes for. So that was very kind of him to take advantage of his height to put something what I would imagine will be just out of my reach. But I suppose that's a good thing. It means it's out of the hyena's reach as well. Where are you going wandering to, little one? It's dangerous out there. There's a leopard wandering about. Oh yes, a little bit too far away from Mom. Maybe a bit too brave. Starting to get the frog calls as well. Hear an eastern olive toad every now and again. That very typical ribbit sound. Oh, look at those teeth. Just listening to another vehicle moving through the area. Oh, oh, you are so cute. Now, Jackie's Cross, you were wondering how old this little cub is. I'm just thinking back to what I learnt about the various cubs from the viewers. Jackie's schoolroom class was wondering how old this cub is. Hold on one moment, I just need to think this through. The oldest one was born in December, the middle two were born in February, and I believe this little one was born sometime in May. So we're looking at about 3.5 months old at the moment. Oh, you can see how loving and gentle Mom can be. You think about the phenomenal power of her jaws. She's up just listening and having a sniff as well, but the cub is far more interested in playing with her. Almost see the put upon expression on her face. Hello, Mommy. Whew. She is pungent. But that was very special. That's the first time I've had her come so far up close to the car. She just came to investigate us, bringing a smell combination that can only be... It's almost fishy in a way. It smells a little bit like a combination of urine and rotting fish. Not entirely the most pleasant smell I've ever smelled. Hello, little one. What you doing? Mary? I just need to lean across and see. Hello. What you doing? What you doing? You're up to no good. Yes, that's what I thought. Highly, highly entertaining little thing. Now, when we first arrived, the hyena cub came bounding up to us with honestly what I would describe as excitement. I think it was feeling a little bit bored and we provided some entertainment. Now, I've also made several comments about how smelly it is around here, and Stephanie tells me that she had a little bit of a giggle imagining the cub coming up and saying, or commenting, as to how smelly these humans are on the back of the vehicle. Oh, there we go. Now I'm going to need to reposition, and I'm going to take that opportunity to go and collect our batteries before it starts to get too dark. Now let's go get that battery quickly before it gets too dark. And I'm very curious to see exactly how high is high that Brent has put it. And then we will come back to this den and spend a bit more time with this very special little cub. It's an unbelievably endearing little character. Oopsie. Let's not take the entire tree with us. Now, apparently there are a lot of people who would love to come and spend some time with this cub and play with it, and it is absolutely adorable, but I bet it has a bite like nothing else. I know when my puppy had her baby teeth, her little milk teeth, as much fun as it was to play with her, she could definitely quite easily break the skin. And she did on a regular basis. I managed to catch a tree in my wheel well that is rather stubbornly sticking with us. Here we go. I think we've got rid of it now. I don't think we need to drag that all the way out. As we make our way out, Brent tells me he placed it in a Combretum apiculatum, and I'm quite relieved he didn't choose to put it in a slightly more obscure tree. He picked an easy one. I would not have put it past him to tell me that he'd put it in some a tree that is completely unknown to me. There it is. Caught on the bank. Here we go. me just hop out so I can grab them. Oh, it's not that high. I was expecting far worse. I was thinking you were going to get me to climb the tree. Aha! Got them both. Brent to the rescue. We've got our possible replacement battery packs. So what we are going to need to do is possibly at some point cut our feed just for the briefest moment so that we can do a quick battery change. And we're actually going to try and do that now, Brian? Okay. We're just going to cut feed for the moment. We won't be gone for too long. We're just going to plug in the new batteries and make our way back to the hyena den. So please don't leave us. We will be back with you very, very shortly. We're just going to quickly sort out our battery issues. Welcome back, and as you can see, we are back up and running with our new battery. So we do owe Brent a big thank you for coming to our rescue. And all we did was a quick loop out of the hyena den, and I'm making my way back in now. Now I just need to decide which way to go. I think we're going back to where we were before. Looks as though the cub has come back out to what I basically think of as the play area around this particular den site. Now the reason that I feel comfortable coming back now whilst it is getting dark is because this little cub's mother is still around. So we can spend some time with it, with the spotlight on it, even though it is quite young, and that is purely because Mom is here. My personal choice, if the mother does decide to move away, will be to leave as soon as she does, but she is lying off in the grass just to the left of us. It's alright, little one. I'm actually going to take this light off it and just do a slightly softer light. What is that? What is that? I'm going to keep a close watch on the cub's behavior. If it does show any sign of distress, then obviously we won't stick around. It almost looks to me at times that it does have a little bit of a limp. And I'm not sure if it is, it's nothing too serious. And of course, the reason that we're now getting to sit with this little one is because we have managed a battery change. And Cecilia, it is indeed nice to find trees growing batteries out here. I'm sure Eugene would be thrilled if more of them could start exhibiting those signs. And of course, a money tree would be highly useful as well. I'm just watching this cub's behavior very, very carefully, and I'm dropping the light right down. I'm not shining on it. Just because he has moved up the hill, I want to see if that's in response to us or not. And if in the next minute or so it doesn't show more signs of being a bit more relaxed, then I am going to leave. And the leopard just called. Did you hear that, Brian? She's just called off to the right of me. So she moved, it sounds as though, that did sound like a female to me, it sounds as though she moved back south down the drainage line, which is exactly what I suspected she was going to do. And she's probably making her way back around one of her favorite areas around the dam. And the reason I'm not throwing the car into reverse and frantically rushing off is that it sounds to me she's right in the middle of the block. It actually sounds to me like she's right in the middle of the drainage line. And I know how thick it is in there. So I'm going to listen a couple more times to see if she calls again. Then at least I can get a little bit of a location and maybe a direction as to which way she's moving or if she's stationary. There we go. Feeling a bit more relaxed. Just a little bit tired now. Just going to switch arms for the spotlight just to make things a bit more comfortable. Now we've got Karula calling off in the distance, and we've got this hyena clan here, and we've started to get to know them really, really well. You know, we know the individuals, we know this cub very well, we know the mother fairly well. And Skoog was wondering why it is that we don't refer to them by name. And that's very much dependent on where you are. In the area that I used to work in, we did name individual hyenas, particularly the matriarchs of the clans, and we built up ID kits for them in terms of their spot patterns. Generally in areas such as this, which is much, much larger, it's an open system, there are so many hyena that it would be almost impossible to keep track. And most of the time, if you do see them, it's a very, very, unless you're sitting in a den with the well-known females, it's a very brief sighting, often with them moving off at high speed. You don't get to sit with them. They don't really go flat in the same way that leopards and lions do. So it's a combination of management decisions, as well as the fact that if we were to name this cub now, you can see how indistinct the spot pattern is. And that, although it's not going to change at all in terms of the position of the spots, it is going to look vastly different in the next year or so. So if we were going to name them, we'd certainly only name them over a year or so old, possibly even older, when their chance of survival is more guaranteed. But generally, it's not practice in the Sabi Sands to give names to hyenas. We could certainly consider naming this the Djuma clan, since their core territory seems to be right around the Djuma Dam. But that being said, Scott definitely saw the matriarch, this cub's mother, motoring her way back from all the way in Buffelshoek, across Buffelshoek boundary and then down south into Djuma. So they can move enormous distances. This is terribly cute and a really, really peaceful scene. And I would strongly advise, if we have got Karula calling quite close to the dam, I would very strongly advise keeping your eye on the dam camera this evening. There could well be happenings there. I'm just going to drop the light slightly. It's because the cub is looking away very solidly. And I'm going to give this sighting another minute, and then we're going to leave him be. It's because it doesn't seem to be his usual playful self, and has turned its head very resolutely away from us. Now, Gilly has picked up on the fact, or has pointed out the fact, that hyenas' back feet almost tend to point inwards at the hock, and she's seen them lying on their stomachs or on their chests with their legs crossed, their back legs crossed behind them. Now, that is very, very typical of the shape of the hyena. So because they've got these powerfully built shoulders and the much smaller hindquarters and the sloping, that very pronounced slope in their back, so it gives them that almost sloping, almost sneaky look as they move, as though they're slinking through the bush. And when we do see their tracks, and I'm sure this is something that's been pointed out to the regular viewers quite a few times, when we do see their tracks, unlike all other animals, instead of having the right front foot and then the right back foot together, they actually do what's known as a crosswalk. So yes, not only do the back feet almost seem to point inwards, they don't necessarily point inwards, but they swing inwards and across the body to meet up with where the opposite front foot has been put down. And that gives them a very energy efficient gait as they move through the bush. So they're perfectly adapted for a nomadic lifestyle and covering enormous distances, probably as a way of dealing with competition from lions. Now, I'm not too sure where the older cubs are. I haven't seen any sign of them, and I definitely haven't heard them playing on the other side of the den. There's a very good chance that they are out with their mother. They are a lot more mobile now that they are older. And Inge, you were wondering about whether or not the cub is on its own. And no, it's not. Although it is perfectly acceptable for us to sit and spotlight the cub while it's on its own, my personal feelings towards the matter are I will only do it at a den site if the mother is present. And she is here. She is, I think, unfortunately out of the range of the camera. But when we pull out of the sighting, I'll show you, I'll stop so that you can see her. But she's here, just at the base of this tree, behind the tree. And she's still there. I've been keeping an eye on her as well to make sure she doesn't sneak away while I'm not watching. But I will say that this little cub has now gone to sleep, so there's no reason for us to actually sit and shine a spotlight in its face if it's trying to sleep. I just don't think that's really appropriate. So I'm going to leave this sighting now. I'll stop on my way out to show you where Mom is. But we've had a wonderful time spent with this adorable little cub. I'm going to just turn my reverse lights on. I'm not going to turn my side lights on until we make our way out. Let me just get out of here, and then we can start following the sound of that leopard call. Who knows, maybe Karula is continuing to make her way to Galago shortcut. Let's try not to take this tree with us again this time around. Now there are lots of different diseases out here that can affect the various animals of the Sabi Sands, and we've had one question as to whether or not hyenas will carry rabies, and they absolutely will. They have been known to. There's Mom. I'm not going to stop for too long, but just to give you an idea of where she was. Mom is there, and Baby was just off to her right. I'm dropping the light off her because she didn't look comfortable, and I don't feel any reason to stress her out. lights on. Okay there, Brian? Cool. Let's see what we can see. A bit of a wire tangle here at the moment. Stand by, one moment, this is not going to work. I managed to wrap my radio around my spotlight cable about 3 or 4 times, which I don't think is going to work out well in the long run. Hopped out to get the batteries out of our Combretum apiculatum, also known as a red bush willow, which sounds far less cool than Combretum apiculatum. Ramon noticed that I was wearing shorts and was wondering if we are starting to feel the effects of, or the coming of spring, and most definitely we are. It is apparently 24 degrees centigrade at the moment. I'm actually feeling even warmer than that, but I think that's a combination of driving backwards and forwards off-road. That certainly has a way of doing a bit of a workout for one's shoulders. And what I'm going to do now, if you are wondering what my plan is, I'm going to head back onto the shortcut that I took earlier that takes us past the pumped water hole outside one of the lodges. And we're just going to take a chance and see if maybe Karula's making her way towards that drainage line. And just to continue with Ramon's question about spring, the other thing I've just noticed, it's the first time I've smelt it. There is the perfect typical African bush summer smell tonight. I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's like the smell that you get after rain, but just a little bit more intense. I'm not even sure exactly what combination of plant and soil life causes it, but it is definitely a smell that I absolutely love, and I always associate with these indescribably beautiful evenings. And as we make our way towards the drainage line where I think Karula was calling from. We have a question from Sibu Sisu, the black mamba from Hammanskraal. And Sibu Sisu went on a trip with his family to a reserve known as Dino King, which I believe is just to the north of Pretoria. I've never been there personally, but I know that the place that I used to work at when Dino King first started up, the elephants that they located or translocated into the reserve came from the reserve that I was working on. Now, Sibu tells us that the guide there gave them a leaf to eat that resulted in broken speech patterns afterwards, almost slurred speech patterns. And he was wondering, because now he has forgotten the name of what it was, he was wondering if perhaps I could give him an answer. Now, there's two options as far as I'm concerned in that area. The one is a silver cluster leaf tree, and the other is a leaf from a spike thorn tree. And both of those, is funnily enough, are what we were talking about earlier with the baby elephants that chew on them to get relief from their teething problems. And essentially what they do is they cause a little bit of localized numbness as well as a serious lack of saliva. It makes your mouth really, really dry. Don't think we're going to be able to see it, but there is a bush baby in there. Stop and see where it went. So Sibu Sisu, that would be my answer as to your mystery tree. Just saw him blinking at me now. Unfortunately, I think he's jumped off. Let me just check around. No, I think the bush baby that I just saw, jumped into the ground. Just saw that flash of their red eyes. So my guess, Sibu Sisu, would be either the silver cluster leaf or possibly the cluster leaf. There we go. Please stay. Oh. There we go. We've just seen him jumping around. Oh, I lost him. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Here we go, right in the middle of my light at the back there. Where did you go, little one? I just saw your tail. There's a lesser bush baby, or a lesser galago. Definitely one of my favorite little nocturnal creatures to see. Well done, Brian, for managing to get that at the end. They are incredibly, very agile little creatures, as you could see there in that brief view that we had, hopping from tree to tree almost faster than we can keep up with them. This one appears to have disappeared off further into the block. But wonderful little creatures. The smallest primate that we have in the Sabi Sands. We get two different types. We get the greater or the larger galago, or greater bush baby, which is much, much bigger. And I have certainly yet to see one here. I've actually yet to see one in quite a long time. And then you get the tiny little one, the small primate, the smaller galago. And as I said, probably one of my favorite little nocturnal animals, just because they are so terribly cute. And I have heard stories that they have a particular fondness, probably due to the sugars, but they have a particular fondness for alcohol and whiskey in particular. And I've heard of bush babies that have been hand raised and kept in lodges that will often terrorize the guests who are sitting at the bar. were lots of eddies around here earlier, so I'm going to drive nice and carefully. And Virginia's picked up on the fact that I'm having a little bit of an arm workout this evening between holding the spotlight, trying not to shine straight into the lodge, as well as driving off-road. So Virginia, absolutely, it's definitely necessary though. The last place that I was working at, we used to do manual labor at least twice a week, and I was walking with a rifle for 6 hours, maybe 4 times a week. So my arms definitely need the exercise wherever I can get it. Nice. Checking or trying to check really closely and carefully into the drainage lines in this area. When I heard her call, I guessed that it was somewhere off to my left in here, but she hasn't called that I've heard since. We're still not giving up hope of a quick glimpse of Karula before the end of the sunset safari. Now it has been quite the day and quite the week in terms of lion updates and lion drama happening here around Djuma, Arathusa and Simambili. And Sarah from Ohio, welcome to the Sunset Safari. Sarah was wondering if Junior left the Nkuhuma Pride, would that make the lionesses more submissive to the Birmingham boys, or would they continue to be aggressive and come into conflict with them? And honestly, Sarah, I'm not too sure. I don't think that Junior is necessarily the cause of their aggression. I don't think that they're feeling particularly protective of him in any kind of way. It might have been that the sub-adults were just the wrong age, which resulted in the adult females trying to rally around them and protect them. So maybe we might see a drop in aggression from the Nkuhumas now that both of those young sub-adult females have been killed. It's very sad, and I know that we are all very much hoping for the sake of the Nkuhuma Pride that they do submit to the Birmingham boys, and that the Birmingham boys start to feel a little bit more relaxed and can settle down and start ruling as they should as the dominant Pride members of this area. But it was a wonderful afternoon for me. I love spending time with Eddies, so that's always a special moment. And now we have a really good starting place for tomorrow morning's sunrise safari. I'm sure that whoever is out tomorrow morning will be heading here. And don't forget to keep an eye on the Djuma Dam camera this evening. It could well be that Karula is going to make her way back towards this area. We know that she loves it here. Hopefully we'll all get a chance to see her. I know I'm certainly keen. It's been a long time since I've had a chance to see Karula. It has been quite the eventful day. I'm very grateful to Brent for rescuing us in terms of our battery issues. I'm glad that we didn't have to finish a little bit earlier, and it was absolutely wonderful to see that very special little hyena cub again, who is definitely one of my favorite characters in this drama that we live out here. A big thank you to Brian for his fantastic camera work, and to Tara and Nikki NFC and Eugene for all of his technical genius, and for the walking team for going out and working on all of our getting our bushwalk sorted. Definitely an exciting time ahead. So goodbye to you guys and a big thank you. We will catch up with you for the sunrise safari tomorrow.